Listen to me. 99% of guys walking into the gun shop think they need a massive shoulder cannon to take down American game, and it usually costs them a small fortune and a freezer full of completely bloodshot meat. You probably think you know exactly what the perfect do-it-all hunting caliber is because you read some glossy magazine, or maybe your granddad swore by one specific cartridge back in the day. But let us be real. Most of the guys arguing on internet forums have never actually tracked a wounded bull elk through 3 miles of freezing timber, yet they buy into the hype just because someone told them a certain round shoots flat to 1,000 yards. We're stripping away the ballistic nonsense right now, focusing strictly on real terminal performance, cost per round, and the actual wound channels that drop targets dead in their tracks without requiring a second mortgage just to buy a box of brass. I guarantee your favorite overhyped cartridge might not even make this list. So if you want the unvarnished truth about the ammunition that actually gets the job done out in the wild, let us get this countdown rolling. Next up at number 7, we have the cartridge that every modern precision shooter will not stop talking about. The 6.5 Creedmoor. It eats long, incredibly aerodynamic projectiles for breakfast, typically running in the 140 grain to 147 grain weight class. It slings them downrange at roughly 2,700 feet per second. The mechanical genius here is the extremely high ballistic coefficient of the bullet design, combined with a fast one in 8-inch barrel twist rate. This specific geometry means the bullet cuts through heavy crosswinds like an absolute scalpel and retains its velocity far better than traditional short-action rounds as it travels downrange. When you visualize the gel test simulation at 400 yards, the terminal ballistics are surprisingly vicious. It punches into the target block with incredible consistency, expanding rapidly due to that retained velocity and creating a deep, uniform wound channel that neutralizes deer and pronghorn cleanly. Squeezing the trigger produces a recoil impulse that feels like a polite tap on the shoulder, giving you virtually no muzzle jump to fight against, which lets you easily watch your own impacts through the scope glass. But here is the massive deal breaker for you traditional big game hunters out there. It simply lacks the heavy mass retention needed to ethically punch through the thick shoulder bone of a massive bull elk at extreme ranges. It just does not have the raw terminal horsepower of the true heavy hitters. Checking the wallet test, the cost per round is actually fantastic right now because every major ammunition plant is pumping it out around the clock. The street price for quality hunting rounds is very competitive, letting you build up your stockpile without completely draining your savings account. Kicking off our list at number 6 is the legendary 30-30 Winchester. Looking at the specs, this old-school workhorse slings a 308-inch diameter bullet downrange, typically weighing in at 150 to 170 grains. It pushes out at roughly 2,200 to 2,500 feet per second from the muzzle, generating around 1,800 to 2,000 foot-pounds of energy. It is not setting any speed records, but it is an absolute bruiser in the dense timber. Under the hood, the technical genius of the 30-30 lies in its traditional flat nose or round nose bullet design. It uses this blunt profile specifically to be safely loaded into tubular magazines without acting like a firing pin against the primer of the round in front of it. Because of that wide me-plat, it does not just poke a neat hole. It acts like a sledgehammer, dumping massive kinetic energy instantly upon impact and creating a devastating wound channel even at lower velocities. When you visualize a gel test simulation at 100 yards, This heavy and slow-moving mass of lead hits with phenomenal mass retention. It plows straight through the target, expanding rapidly and folding medium game instantly without turning the shoulder meat into bloodshot jelly. The recoil is nothing but a gentle nudge against your shoulder, making it incredibly forgiving for newer shooters trying to build confidence. But here is the truth. The aerodynamic profile is completely terrible. That flat nose means the ballistic coefficient is practically non-existent, causing the round to drop like an absolute rock past 200 yards. This severe rainbow trajectory is a major deal breaker if you are hunting open country or trying to make cross-canyon shots on a windy day. Stepping over to the wallet test, the bang for your buck is almost unbeatable. You can find this ammunition stacked deep on the shelves of nearly any remote gas station or hardware store in the country. The street price is incredibly cheap, keeping your cost per round low enough to practice often and keep your freezer completely full. Stepping up the game to number 5, we are looking at the .270 Winchester. This flat-shooting legend eats wide-open spaces for breakfast. It slings a .277 7-inch projectile, normally in the 130 to 150 grain weight class, screaming out of the barrel at an impressive 3,000 feet per second. The secret sauce here is the cartridge geometry itself. It utilizes a standard 30-06 parent case that has been necked down to hold a smaller, highly aerodynamic bullet. This creates a massive overbore capacity, burning a heavy powder charge to drive that lighter bullet at extreme velocities for a trajectory that stays laser flat across massive distances. When you run a gel test simulation at 300 yards, the terminal performance is absolutely clinical. The bullet carries over 1,500 foot-pounds of energy at that distance, hitting medium game with devastating authority. It dumps that kinetic energy rapidly, creating a massive wound channel that neutralizes deer and antelope right in their tracks. The recoil against your shoulder is nothing more than a smooth shove, making it incredibly easy to spot your own impacts through the glass. Look, I know the heavy Magnum fanboys are going to complain about this choice, but you simply do not need a punishing shoulder cannon to drop a mule deer across a windy canyon. Sound off below if you trust this exact setup for your western hunts. This cartridge is a phenomenal performer for sure, but just wait until you see the absolute powerhouse we have sitting at number 1. It completely redefines the meaning of a do-it-all round. Now for the ugly truth. The blistering velocity that makes it great out west becomes a massive liability in thick timber. If you hit a whitetail shoulder at 50 yards, that hyperspeed bullet can overexpand and completely grenade on impact. This excessive fragmentation is a total deal breaker because it will completely ruin a massive amount of usable meat. Checking the wallet test. The cost per round is entirely fair. It is definitely pricier than military surplus ammunition, but the entry fee is reasonable enough to keep you on the range. You will find premium bonded cores and basic soft points at almost any outfitter across the country. Now we get serious with number 4, the legendary 7mm Remington Magnum. This absolute powerhouse feeds on heavy, 284-inch diameter projectiles ranging from 140 to 175 grains. Squeezing the trigger sends that mass out of the muzzle at blistering speeds between 2,900 and 3,100 feet per second. That gives you nearly 3,000 foot-pounds of raw terminal energy right out of the gate. Looking at the brass, you will notice a distinct belt of extra metal just above the extractor groove. It utilizes this belted case head to properly headspace the cartridge in the chamber. This vital mechanical feature allows the rifle to safely contain the massive internal pressures required to generate these extreme long-range velocities. When we visualize the gel test simulation at 400 yards, the terminal ballistics are frankly terrifying. It drives deep into the target block, retaining incredible momentum and mass retention to punch straight through thick hide and heavy bone. The wound channel is absolutely massive, delivering the kind of devastating hydrostatic shock that neutralizes large game like elk and moose without taking a single step. But listen closely, there is a brutal price to pay for all that kinetic energy. The recoil impulse on a lightweight mountain rifle chambered in this round kicks like a startled draft horse. This punishing physical abuse is a massive deal breaker for newer shooters or anyone prone to flinching, completely destroying your accuracy and consistency when you try to send it downrange. Check in the wallet test. The damage to your bank account is definitely steep. Premium bonded hunting rounds for this beast are significantly pricier than standard short-action calibers, making it a tough pill to swallow for high-volume practice. You will definitely feel the financial sting every single time you rack the bolt. Entering the elite tier, we have the undisputed workhorse at number 3, the 308 Winchester. This battle-proven legend slings a 308-inch projectile downrange with absolute authority. You will typically find grain weights running from 150 to 180 grains, pushing out of the muzzle at 2,600 to 2,800 feet per second. That gives you roughly 2,500 foot-pounds of terminal energy right from the start. Under the hood, the true genius is the overall cartridge length. It utilizes a highly efficient powder column packed into a compact case, allowing it to cycle flawlessly through a short-action receiver. This mechanical advantage means the bolt travels a shorter distance compared to a long-action setup, creating a stiffer, lighter rifle platform with a lightning-fast cycle rate for rapid follow-up shots on a moving target. When you visualize a gel test simulation at 200 yards, the terminal ballistics are incredibly reliable. The projectile punches straight through the barrier, retaining almost all of its mass while expanding into a perfect wide mushroom. That predictable wound channel delivers massive hydrostatic shock, dropping wild hogs and whitetail dead in their tracks without completely destroying the surrounding meat. The recoil impulse hits your shoulder like a firm, controlled handshake, making it incredibly easy to stay right on the scope glass and track your own impacts. But here is the deal. It simply runs out of gas at extended ranges. Because it lacks a massive powder boiler room, the trajectory starts to sag dramatically past 350 yards. This heavy drop rate is a serious deal breaker if you're trying to push your limits on an open plains hunt or reach out across a massive, windy valley. Checking the wallet test, the cost per round is an absolute joke. Because of its massive global military adoption, you can find training and hunting ammunition stacked to the ceiling in almost any store. The financial damage is incredibly low, meaning you can train hard all weekend without draining your bank account. Closer to the crown, we have an absolute monster sitting at number 2, the 300 Winchester Magnum. This beast eats 308 caliber projectiles for breakfast, specifically thriving on heavy grain weights from 165 up to 200 grains. Squeezing the trigger unleashes a blistering velocity between 2,900 and 320 feet per second. That generates well over 3,500 foot-pounds of bone-crushing terminal energy right off the muzzle. Handling this level of explosive force requires serious structural integrity. That is why top-tier rifles chambered in this Magnum utilize full glass bedding inside the stock. This precision epoxy molding creates a perfect stress-free mating surface between the receiver and the chassis, absolutely preventing the extreme recoil from shifting the action and destroying your zero downrange. Stepping into the gel test simulation at a massive 500 yards, the terminal ballistics are frankly absurd. The projectile still carries a staggering 2,000 foot-pounds of energy, slamming into the target and creating a wound channel that looks like a grenade went off. The mass retention is phenomenal, punching completely through thick muscle and heavy bone to neutralize massive targets like coastal brown bears with absolute authority. But be warned, the recoil snaps back like a swinging sledgehammer, punishing your collarbone if you do not have it mounted tight. Now let us get real about the massive deal breaker here. The cost per round will completely hemorrhage your bank account. Check in the wallet test. These heavy powder-packed Magnum cartridges demand a massive entry fee. You will be dropping serious cash for premium bonded hunting ammunition, making high-volume range sessions entirely unrealistic for the average blue-collar guy. Taking the absolute crown at number 1 is the undisputed king of the American woods, the legendary 30-06 Springfield. This century-old workhorse slings a 308-inch diameter projectile, handling a massive spread of grain weights from 150 all the way up to a heavy 220 grains. You are looking at muzzle velocities between 2,700 and 3,000 feet per second, dumping well over 2,800 foot-pounds of terminal energy right out of the barrel. It takes the absolute top spot because it gives you the rugged, do-it-all reliability of the 308 sitting at number 3. But with the heavy-hitting, deep penetration capabilities that put the 270 from number 5 completely to shame. You do not have to choose between a lightweight brush gun and a heavy-hitting plains rifle. This single cartridge scales perfectly to handle everything from thin-skinned varmints to massive Alaskan brown bears. The real mechanical genius that makes this extreme versatility possible is the standard 1 in 10-inch twist rate cut into most of these rifle barrels. This fast internal rifling rotation acts like a gyroscope for heavy, long projectiles. It perfectly stabilizes those massive 220 grain bullets in flight, preventing them from tumbling and ensuring they hit the target with absolute pinpoint accuracy. When you run a gel test simulation at 400 yards with a heavy partition bullet, the wound channel is simply devastating. It hits with incredible weight retention, driving deep through thick shoulder bone and vital organs to neutralize heavy game efficiently and ethically. The recoil hits your shoulder like a firm, heavy push, nothing like the violent, sharp crack of the big Magnums, making it incredibly manageable for consistent follow-up shots. Looking at the wallet test, the financial damage is incredibly reasonable because it has been the undisputed standard for over a century. You can find practice ammunition and premium hunting loads in absolutely every single hardware store or bait shop across the entire country. You get all the terminal performance you will ever need without taking out a second mortgage to fill your freezer. Look, the truth is simple. You do not need the newest, flashiest Magnum round to put meat on the table. You need a reliable caliber that you can actually afford to shoot, that will not destroy your shoulder, and that puts the target down quickly and cleanly. The 30-06 has been doing exactly that for well over a century, and it is not stepping down anytime soon. Stop overthinking your gear and start focusing on your shot placement. If you want the raw truth without the fluff, lock it in right here.